Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Robert Sports Show. I'm your host, Robert. Alright, here we are, January 12th. We found out the format for 2026 and beyond. The chase is returning. Okay, so we had Steve O'Donnell, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Mark Martin, came off his vacation, I love it. Ryan Blaney, Chase Briscoe and Chase Elliott. We had a current driver of each manufacturer, I noticed that. And then we had the top two drivers who the fans relate to, 14-time most popular driver Dale Earnhardt Jr., and then Mark Martin, who's been on social media a lot lately, kind of giving his 2 cents, and a lot of people have gotten behind what Mark Martin has said, which is great. I'm glad, Mark I think he's bigger with the fans today than he was when he was a driver, which again, that's a good thing. Having guys like Mark Martin still around the sport and want to be a part of the sport is a good thing. Do I agree with him on the format? No, we didn't agree at all. We were miles apart, but that's fine. He had his opinion. I had mine. All the fans had theirs. The fact that he said when he walked into that room to settle on this format, he said 36 race full season, nothing else, and he almost got chased out of the room. So I think he knew then that everybody else had a different opinion than he did, and he understood that. They worked on it together, and he's behind this. So everyone that thinks that Mark Martin is that icon, which he is an icon, don't get me wrong, but they look, if Mark Martin likes it, I'll like it kind of deal, which I'm not one of those. Oh, Mark likes it, awesome. You know what? I like it. I like any format I've seen. Been a fan of the sport for almost 40 years. There's not been a format that I didn't go, especially the changes. Again, I came into the sport as a fan in 1986. So the late 80s, 90s, that was all the Winston Cup stuff. In 2003 is when we came out with the original chase. Did I go, what's this all about? Yes, I did, just like everybody else. But then I learned things about it and kind of watched it and look back on it now fondly, like, oh yeah, that was a good time in NASCAR. So we're going to run through, like I said, kind of leading up to this, the NASCAR chase for the championship, the good, the bad, the ugly. For me, again, these are just mine. The good, more points for the winner. You don't have a chance of clinching early. And that's been one of my big downfalls about going to the full season points is people winning it early and fans tuning away and losing something that we have had for 20 years now. We know we're going to crown a champion. We know there's multiple drivers going to go crown that champion. So not being able to crown it early, I like that. Wins matter because you get more points for wins. I love that. Some of the bad with it for me, the no one in your end. Okay, you know what? I understand the thought process behind that because people won Daytona. You're in the playoffs, first thing out of their mouth, and I get that because if you win the Daytona 500, that shouldn't be the first thing on your mind. You win the Coke 600, that shouldn't be the first thing in your mind. And with that kind of format, that puts that Las Vegas race, the opening race of the round of 8, as more of a priority because you win that one. If you're in the round of 8, you're automatically in the round of 4. I'm like, okay, I can understand. I like it. I get it because to me it makes that win, what Austin Dillon did at Richmond a couple years ago. But I'm like, okay, I get why we took that away. So it's kind of, bad, but I understand it and I'm cool with it. No eliminations. I like the eliminations. But also Steve O'Donnell addressed that. We go to Bristol and Ryan. I love how he goes, Ryan Blaney wins. Chase, don't take offense to this. And told Chase Briscoe finishes 18th. We're talking more about Chase Briscoe finishing 18th than we are Ryan Blaney winning. I'm like, okay, because back in the day, obviously you won a race. That was the holy grail of the weekend. It wasn't anything else. So, and I understand that. We get rid of that. For me, again, things I like, it's bad they're gone, but that's cool. I understand the why behind it. The ugly. Some fans don't like it. Okay, that's your opinion. That's fine. Something that Steve O'Donnell had said last year is he wanted a buy-in from the fans, from the industry, from the media partners. If everyone buys in on it, it's going to make it bigger than what it is, and it's going to make it mean more. And we got a lot of people buying it. There's a lot of good stuff on social media. A lot of people saying We didn't get full season. This is better. I love how Mark ended it. You know, we were never going to go from a playoff to a full season. Now, from 10 races to a full season, there's a chance. I love how Mark kind of dove that into the end. I'm like, that's pretty cool. You know, I was able to watch it on Tubi. So, okay, that's kind of cool. No, the playoff points are set. So it's not like before, if you win 6 races, you get 30 playoff points. You win a bunch of stages, you can get more playoff points. You had that sliding scale of playoff points. Now, when we enter the playoff, whoever is number 1 in points is a 25-point leader for second place, on down to 16th place is literally 100 points out of the league. It's a set schedule. It is not a rotating where the more wins you get, the more playoff points you earn. You know, hey, I can stay out for this stage win, get that playoff point, strategize around that. So now it's more or less, if I stay out, I get the 10 points, that's it. Which that can affect your seeding, but you don't have that sliding scale, which I like, which, you know, to me that's kind of the ugly side of it, but I can understand it. Some of the nuts and bolts of it, if you win the race, you get 55 points. If you finish second, you get 35. So you get a 15-point buffer more than what you would have before, but you get 20 points more than second place. I know one thing a lot of people hated was the stage points, because you could have more stage points than somebody else if you finish lower, so you can finish 5th and have more stage points than the winner. Now the way this is set up, if you win both stages, that's 20 points. If you finish second, that's 35 points. The winner gets 55, you get 55. The only 1 point difference would be the Xfinity fastest lap. So, okay. With stage points, I don't think you need to race if you get points for leading the lap like we used to back in the day. And I brought this up on social media to somebody. Is you had back in the day, a lot of times, teammates or friends would let you pass them, lead a few laps to get those bonus points. And somebody brought up, well, Denny Hamlin let Martin Truex get past him at Daytona to get an extra point. So you can point out one time in the last 5 years that happened, and it happened almost every race in the past. Okay, you know, it's not as prevalent now as it was back then because every point mattered. With this system here, I think every point matters as well. So playoff points, so when we start the playoffs, top 16 after 26 races, first place gets 2,100 points, minus 25 to second, minus 10 to third, and then 5 points down to 16th. It's going to be 16 drivers for 10 races. So once we do that initial reset after Daytona before Darlington, we run it to the end, and whoever's the most points after Homestead is your champion. So 10 races with 16 drivers on the Cup side, 9 races for 12 drivers on Xfinity, 7 races for 10 drivers on the truck side, O'Reilly Auto Parts side. I know they talked about waivers. You still have to run every race. So what that sounds like to me is, if you are 14th in points at the end of 26 races and you say you missed a race, in order for you to still make the chase, you have to have a waiver for that, if you missed it for whatever reason. Now, based on precedence has already been set, they always grant the waivers. But I like that because, and Larry McReynolds was talking about this on Track Today, we had drivers back in the day that Davey Allison broke his hand. He had a surgery on his hand literally like 5 days before a race. They Velcroed his cast to the shifter just for him to be able to start the race. And then as soon as he took the green flag, he pulled in the pits and they put another driver in. You had Ricky Rudd getting in with a broken leg. He had to have a hand clutch just to, again, run enough to take the green flag, come into pits. And we don't need to put injured drivers into a car like that. I mean, remember Darrell Waltrip doing that? A lot of drivers had done that. You know, until Dale Earnhardt Jr., concussions were a big thing. So I like that we have that, so if somebody does get hurt, you know, for instance, Brad Keselowski. The fact that, you know, he broke his leg skiing over the winter. He's missing the Clash, Corey LaJoie being the 6th car. If he misses the 500 because of that, he can get that medical waiver, go out and perform, be top 16, make the chase. Perfect. I'm going to slip and call playoffs sometimes because we've done it for so long now. But the chase. So I like that. Now, one of the biggest things I've always been about full season and about other formats is, what if somebody wins early? What's that going to do to ratings in this day and age? Because we all know that back in the day, if you're watching the race and the race is kind of boring, you didn't have a lot of options to watch other entertainment. 2026, 14,000 streaming services, you got on demand, you can find something else to watch if you don't want to watch that race. You can watch squash from Europe or somewhere, something stupid. So people don't necessarily, a lot of people watch stuff on demand these days. They watch it, on apps and whatnot that may or may not count. Some don't count, cloud DVRs, DVR and watch it later kind of deal. So I like the fact that we can't clinch it early. And I actually looked at the old chase format. And I actually went ahead and did the math and basically modified the points to what today would be. So I know when the original chase started, you had 175 points for a win. This format you have 55. I did the whatever you want to call it translation, and so I looked at it. So in 2004, based on today's points, you had 5 drivers running for a championship. 2005 you had 4. 2006 you had 5. 2007 you had 2. 2008 you had 2. 2009 3. Technically, mathematically 6, but 5, and then 3 and 4. So yeah, mathematically, you had drivers that, you had a 21-point lead. Okay, so that's basically 2 stages, and then it's head-to-head. So you kind of, yes, it's a comfortable lead, but no, it's not that comfortable because of stage points. I'm like, okay, I can get behind it because I'm, 99% sure no one's going to clinch it early. There could be that one odd year, but you know what? Tony Stewart did that one year, was it 2014, whatever year it was, he won. He won 5 of the 10 chase races to win the championship. I hope that happens again. So, personally, I'm pro playoff. But I like the chase. I like what they've done with it. I wish we had some more points overall, and I'll tell you why. So now, if you're 40 cars start the field, start the race, you hit the wall, spin out, you tear something up, you go to the garage area. Yeah, you can work on it and bring it back out. But as low as the attrition is, you may only gain 1 or 2 spots, which basically is no points. Like Larson did this twice. He came back out, got the Xfinity fastest lap, and so you got 2 points for that race. And that team worked off twice rebuilding that car, 2 different races. All they got was 1 extra point because the Xfinity fastest lap. Did they cheat it up? Who knows? But because they're obviously working on the garage here. But whatever, you know what I'm saying. So it's like, okay, we need to do something about that. But other than that, I'm cool with it. I can't wait. I think it's gonna be a fun year. I can't wait to the playoffs. The chase. I know a lot of people have brought up Shane Van Gisbergen and Connor Zilic. And this is against, they changed it because of Trackhouse, because of Shane Van Gisbergen. Well, yes and no. When Justin Marks brought Shane Van Gisbergen over, and he ran that Chicago Street race, apparently we found out later it was in the contract, if he won, he got a contract. that was cool. Shane's getting better in ovals. Juan Pablo Montoya finished 4th in points one year. Was it 4th or 5th? It was part of the chase too, so that's why I was like, whoa, I forgot about that. Let's see, what year was that? 'Cause I actually, I thought he did it. I thought he was up there at one point. Yeah, it is. In 2009, he was 6th in points. So yeah, you can be a road course guy and get better in ovals, which Shane is. I actually think Shane will make the top 16 this year. And when I do my preseason pick for the chase, he's going to be one of them. Connor Zilic, he can. I think he can. I think Shane's going to win more than he is. He could. It could be 6 road courses or 5 road courses this year, so it could be 3 and 2. Who knows? So I think it's going to be a good year. I think we're going to have people in the chase that we weren't expecting. I think we're going to have people make the chase without a win. I think we're going to have people outside the chase with multiple wins. And that's going to be something that we're going to really kind of look at that cutoff points and we still have that, you think about from race 22 through race 26, that 4-race span, which is going to be our 5-race span, and 4 race right after we have the in-season tournament. We have 4 races until the cutoff. So we have Iowa, Richmond, Loudon, and Daytona. So we're going to look at points during those races. Who's going to be able to point their way in? Who's going to point their way out? And so we're still going to have that watching for there. I think there needs to be bonus points tied to the in-season tournament. That'd be kind of cool too. So 10-race chase, Darlington through Homestead, and we will crown a champion in Homestead with the new chase format. Overall, I think it's good. I think the people that were wanting 36-race playoff, I know you're not happy, and I understand. That's fine. That's you're privileged to have your opinion. I think this is better than having that. I don't think we need that. And thinking this era, having the full season points, you're going to have somebody win early, and then you're going to have people complaining about that. You can't make every fan happy. There's millions of fans, and everyone has their opinion. And that's fine. Everyone should have their opinion. But you got to think, we've been doing 36 races since 2001. So we had 3 seasons of 36 races and no playoffs. The championship was won early 2 of those 3 years. From 1998 we had 33 races, 34, and then 3 years of 36. 5 of those 6 years the championship was run with a race left. In 2003, Matt Kenseth won 1 race, won the championship, and finished last in the finale, and had already had the championship clinched. 1985, Darrell Waltrip won 11. Bill Elliott won 11 races. Darrell Waltrip was your champion. 1996, 96, Jeff Gordon won 10 races. Terry won 2. So we've seen before where the statistically best driver didn't win. The driver with the most wins didn't win. So everyone that goes out there and there's a couple online I've seen already where they literally took from 2001 through 2025 with the new points who the champion would be. Surprise, surprise, Joe Logano would have been 4-time champion. That irks some people off, but you know what? You do you. Some of that's cool to look at, but saying that we have an illegitimate champion, no, that's not cool. And I like what Ben Kennedy said. Every champion is deserving based on the system they won under. You can't tell me Buck Baker's 1957 championship is more legitimate than Joe Logano in 2023. And I say that, 56 Buck Baker championship. And I say that because 56 Buck Baker drove for Carl Kiefkaver. Carl Kiefkaver left NASCAR for cheating. Let's see. Was 57 under Kiefkaver? Was that under... trying to figure out what year. I can't remember what year it was, but Buck Baker won the championship. I think it was 56 because the year Herb Thomas got hurt. So yeah, Carl Kiefkaver was a cheater. So let me look at Herb Thomas here because there was a year that Herb won it. So Herb Thomas got hurt in 56. He won the championship. When Herb won the championship? Herb won the championship in 53. He drove for Carl Kiefkaver in 56. Ended up getting hurt. Career-ending injury, only had a couple starts after that because Carl Kiefhaver car, Speedy Thompson, that's the urban legend, took him out, and then Carl Kiefhaver paid NASCAR to add a race so Buck could be champion. So those Buck Baker championships, even the Herb Thomas championship, Herb was driving for himself then, but the two Buck Baker championships when he drove for Carl Kiefhaver were down in NASCAR for cheating. So those are not more legit than Joey Logano in 2023. They're just not, because we had a known cheater. So this whole thing about illegitimate champions, no, they're all legit champions. They all follow. Everyone knew the system going into the season. Just like here, you can't have somebody win the championship and technically not have the most points for the entire season, and somebody have the most points for the entire season and not win the championship. So are they legit or illegit? So every champion is legit. They're all legitimate champions, from Red Byron in 1949 through Kyle Larson 2025. So Chase, non-playoff, Grand National, whatever you want to call them, they're all legit champions. So that's my 2 cents, the good and the bad and the ugly of the new NASCAR Chase format for the 2026 season. As always, thanks for watching Rubber Sports Show, and don't just have a great day. Have a terrific day. Rubber Sports Show, your YouTube leader sports channel content.